In this video, we'll be walking through the January 2025 English A Paper 1. For this first section, each sentence has either one or two words missing. You are to choose the word which best completes the meaning of the sentence. Now, just a few tips before we start answering the questions. Now, the first thing you need to do, obviously, is to read the sentence through. But while you're reading, you should start asking yourself some pointed questions like, is it going to be a positive word I'm looking for? Is it going to be a negative word? Is it going to be an adjective or a noun? Or is it going to be a verb? And all of this you could pick up from the context while you're reading. Now, another tip is to eliminate answers that clearly do not fit the meaning. Okay, so there will be words there that just out. So eliminate those. Then the next thing you could do, if you're still not sure, is to just fit, and as a matter of fact, always do this, fit the words in and read the sentence out aloud to see if it makes sense. Okay, so question 1. If you prepare blank, you have a good chance of blank, the interviewer, that you are the right person for the job. And the pair of words that I'm choosing here is from C, thoroughly and convincing. Let's see how that reads. If you prepare thoroughly, you have a good chance of convincing the interviewer that you are the right person for the job. Good. Question 2. The journalists were impressed by the blank of the statesman, whose speeches had a profound blank on all who heard him. And we've selected A. So now the sentence would read, the journalists were impressed by the eloquence of the statesman, whose speeches had a profound effect on all who heard him. Question 3. There are many who would try to blank your efforts because of their jealousy. And the answer is C, thwart. Now, thwart means to prevent or to hinder you from doing something. So it would read, there are many who would try to thwart your efforts because of their jealousy. Question 4. Although it is possible to move the house, the cost of moving it makes the project blank. And the answer that would fit best here is B, impractical. So although it's possible to move the house, the cost of moving it makes the project impractical, not sensible. Okay, 5. Most persons are usually blank, those who say one thing and practice another. And we are choosing T, contemptuous of. Now, if you're contemptuous of somebody, that means you don't respect them, you have extreme scorn for them or disdain. Okay? So our sentence would read, most people are usually contemptuous of those who say one thing and practice another. In this section, each sentence has one word underlined. Choose from the 4 suggested answers the word which is closest to opposite in meaning to the underlined word. Question 6. The views expressed by Mr. Jones were inconsistent with those of the committee. Now, inconsistent means not in agreement with. So the opposite of that is compatible. Question 7. There was a mass immigration of workers from the Caribbean to the United States. Now, immigration means to go out, people leaving the country. The opposite of that is having people come into the country, which is emigration. So A. Question 8. He was eager to share the news with his children. So the opposite of eager is reluctant. He didn't want to share it. Reluctant. Question 9. The president of the Students' Association never mentioned the treasurer's integrity. What does integrity mean? Integrity means honesty, strong moral principle, or strong moral principles. The opposite of that is dishonesty. Question 10. Stacy wanted her passport renewed. Stacy wanted her passport renewal to be expedited, but it was not. Expedited means to speed up or to make faster. The opposite of that is slowing it down or delayed. A. Question 11 to 15. Revise each of the following sentences according to the directions that follow it. Do not change the meaning of the original sentence. Look at the options A to D for the word or phrase that best suits the revised sentence. 11. The accident caused a lot of traffic on the highway, so we found an alternative route. And our instruction is to substitute so much for a lot of. So a new sentence would be, the accident caused so much traffic on the highway that we found an alternative route. And so our choice phrase there is A, that we. Question 12. Given that the teachers had made final arrangements, they were very annoyed when only a few students showed up for the field trip. Begin the sentence with since final arrangements. So here we go. Since final arrangements had been made, the teachers were very annoyed when only a few students showed up for the field trip. So the phrase we've used is were being made. Question 13. More is experienced in one day in the life of a learned man than an ignorant man experiences in his whole lifetime. Begin the sentence with a learned man. So a new sentence would read, a learned man experiences more in one day than an ignorant man experiences in his whole lifetime. And so the phrase we chose to use there was experiences more in one day. Question 14. During my time at school, I was involved in extracurricular activities. And we're to begin the new sentence with I was involved. So a complete sentence would read, I was involved in extracurricular activities while I was at school. So a choice phrase there is while I was. 15. She found even after she had made several attempts to regulate the sprinkler that the water was still reaching the furniture on the veranda. And we are to begin the sentence with having made. So, having made several attempts to regulate the sprinkler, she found that the water was still reaching the furniture on the veranda. So the phrase we chose to use there was she found that. Question 16 to 20. Some of the following sentences are unacceptable because of inappropriate grammar, idiom, or vocabulary. Some sentences are acceptable as they are. Your job is to select one underlined part that is inappropriate and choose the corresponding letter, A, B, or C. If the sentence is okay as it is, choose D. 16. The nurses were given separate quarters because the main building did not have enough rooms for them. And the error is at B. Separate is incorrectly spelled. It should be separate. 17. It is my pleasure to give you some information concerning proper nutrition. And that sentence is perfectly fine, so we'll go for D, no error. Question 18. When the museum purchases paintings, the patrons posted many compliments, so they were giving him high praises. The error is at C actually, because compliments is incorrectly spelled. It's spelled Compliments. Actually, there is a compliment that's spelled Complements, but it has a complete different meaning. Question 19. His intelligence rather than his height was a deciding factor when considering him for the job. And that sentence is fine, so we will select D. 20. He thought it best to sacrifice the match and submit to the ridicule of the team for his friend's sake. I can't see any error in that sentence, so again we will select D. For this section, each sentence has one word underlined. Choose from the 4 suggested answers the word which is nearest in meaning to the underlined word. So it's synonyms that we're looking for. 21. It was impossible to rectify the error made by the computer since inaccurate information had been fed to it. And when you're rectifying something, you're trying to make it right, you're trying to fix it. So the answer is C, correct. 22. The flowers grow profusely in the garden. Profusely means a whole lot of it, all right? Plentiful. So the word we're going to choose is at C, abundantly. Question 23. The news story revealed the squalor of the old city. Now, squalor is extremely, when you talk about squalor, is something is extremely filthy, dirty. So the only word I see here that fits that is destitution at D. 24. During the rainstorm yesterday, the wind blew incessantly across the island. Incessantly means not letting up. It just keeps going without stopping. And so the answer we're going for is constantly. 25. For the first time in a decade, the company disclosed a deficit in its account. And a deficit is a shortfall. So that's D, shortfall. Questions 26 to 30 will be based off this poem. Look at the world. I look at the world from awakening eyes in a black face. And this is what I see. This fenced off narrow space assigned to me. I look then at the silly walls through dark eyes in a dark face, and this is what I know, that all these walls, oppression bills, will have to go. I look at my own body with eyes no longer blind, and I see that my own hands can make the world that's in my mind. Then let us hurry, comrades. The road is to find. Question 26. The speaker in the poem is most likely, is it A, an artist, B, someone who was once blind, C, an ex-slave fighting for freedom, or D, a black person sharing the experience of being black? And the answer for that is D. The poem refers to blackface, and there was quite a lot about oppression experienced because of race. Question 27. In the first stanza, the speaker best describes A, a man who has just woken up from a nap, B, a person who likes to travel the world, C, someone who is realizing their world is restricted, and or D, an individual who feels uncomfortable in tight spaces. And the answer for 27 is C, someone who is realizing their world is restricted. He spoke about the fenced off narrow space being assigned to him. So yeah, I think that's the most appropriate one. In stanza 2, the speaker decides that the walls of oppression are A mental battle, B, to be torn down, C, too silly for any attention, D, unstable and will crumble. Let's have a look at the evidence above. It says, and this is what I know, that all these walls oppression builds will have to go. So the answer there, this is pointing to, is B. They need to be torn down. Question 29. The lines, this fenced off narrow space and walls oppression built, help to develop the meaning of the poem as they A, show the effect and consequences of oppression, B, indicate the speaker's intention to fight against oppression, C, reveal how oppression limits people's opportunities in life, D, highlight how walls are used to keep people out and provide security. And the answer is C, reveal how oppression limits people's opportunities in life. He talks about the fenced off narrow spaces, and this symbolizes restriction and limited freedom, and this is caused by oppression. 30. What is the overall message of the poem? Is it A, to break down walls? To break down walls is not as easy as building them. B, for imagination to become reality, a lot of time is needed. C, people have the power to work together to create a better world. Or is it D, change must take place from within the individual first and then as a society? And we're going to go for D, change must take place from within the individual first and then as a society. So it's almost like it's a personal awakening. Questions 31 to 38 will be based off this extract. It's quite a lengthy extract, so feel free to stop the video and to read it at your own pace. Kino and Warner came to the place where the brush houses stopped and the city of stone and plaster began. The city of harsh outer walls and inner cool gardens, where a little water played and the bougainvillea crusted the walls with purple and brick red and white. They heard from the secret gardens the singing of the caged birds and heard the splash of cooling water on hot flagstones. The procession crossed the blinding blaze and paused in front of the church. It had grown now, and in the outskirts the hurrying newcomers were being softly informed how the baby had been stung by a scorpion, how the father and mother were taking it to the doctor. And the newcomers, particularly the beggars from the front of the church, who were great experts in financial analysis, looked quickly at Wanna's old blue skirt, saw the tears in her shawl, appraised the green ribbon on her braids, read the age of Kino's blanket and the 1,000 washings of his clothes, and set them down as poverty people, and went along to see what kind of drama might develop. The four beggars in front of the church knew everything in the town. They were students of the expressions of young women as they went into confession, and they saw them as they came out and read the nature of the sin. They knew every little scandal and some very big crimes. They slept at their posts in the shadow of the church, so that no one crept in for consolation without their knowledge. And they knew the doctor. They knew his ignorance, his cruelty, his service, his appetites, his sins. They knew his clumsy abortions and the little brown pennies he gave them. He gave sparingly for alms. They had seen his corpses go into the church, and since early mass was over and business was slow, they followed the procession, these endless searchers after perfect knowledge of their fellow men, to see what the fat, lazy doctor would do about an indigent boy, an indigent baby with a scorpion bite. The scurrying procession came at last to the big gate in the wall of the doctor's house. They could hear the splashing of the water and the singing of caged birds and the sweep of the long brooms on the flagstones. And they could smell the frying of good bacon from the doctor's house. Kino hesitated a moment. This doctor was not of his people. This doctor was of a race which for nearly 400 years had beaten and starved and robbed and despised Kino's race, and frightened it too, so that the indigent came humbly to the door. And as always, when he came near to one of this race, Kino felt weak and afraid and angry at the same time. Rage and terror went together. He could kill the doctor more easily than he could talk to him, for all of the doctor's race spoke to all of Kino's race as though they were simple animals. And as Kino raised his right hand to the iron ring knocker in the gate, rage swelled in him, and the pounding music of the enemy beat in his ears, and his lips drew tight against his teeth. But with his left hand he reached to take off his hat. The iron ring pounded against the gate. Kino took off his hat and stood waiting. Cayetito moaned a little in Juana's arms, and she spoke softly to him. The procession crowded close, the better to see and hear. Number 31. The writer uses secret to describe the gardens because A. They were hidden from view. B. The occupants whispered there. C. Many people did not know of them. D. Many treasures were concealed there. Let's look at the evidence. They heard from the secret gardens the singing of caged birds. So imagine there was a wall, because it talked about the crusted wall, the crusted walls. So they knew there was a garden there, but they couldn't see, but they could hear what was going on there. So we're going to choose A. They were hidden from view. 32. The word procession indicates that the crowd was A. Going to a funeral. B. Moving about aimlessly. C. Walking together like a mob. D. Moving in a long, orderly group. Okay, so it says the procession crossed the blinding plaza and passed in front of the church. Now we know they weren't going to a funeral, so we've eliminated A. They weren't moving about aimlessly. They were following the the couple and their ill child. Walking together like a mob. They weren't rowdy. We know a mob is kind of like an unruly crowd. We didn't have any evidence of that. So we are going to go for D, that they were actually moving in a long, orderly group. Question 33. Which of the following statements is not true about the beggars? A. They knew about human nature. B. They were inquisitive about people. C. They had a good relationship with the doctor. D. They knew everything that went on around them. And the only one which is not true there is C, that they had a good relationship with the doctor. In fact, the evidence proves quite the opposite. Question 34. In the extract, the expression great experts in financial analysis means that the beggars, A, were able to add their alms quickly, B, had many years of experience in begging, C, could analyze the financial state of the country, D, could immediately determine the rich from the poor, and we'll go for D. If you examine the paragraph above, you'll see where they took one glance at Juana and they saw just at her skirt and the tear in the shawl, and they look at the baby's blanket, they look at the ribbon on her braids, and straight away they could tell how old their clothes were and decided that they were poverty people. So that's what experts in financial analysis meant. Question 35. The description in paragraph 2 conveys to the reader the impression of A. Fear and hatred, B. Happiness and love, C. Harshness and poverty, D. Comfort and prosperity. And I have attached paragraph 2 above, if you could see it on the slide there, so you can pause the video right now and just have a scan of it. But the answer I've chosen is harshness and poverty. Question 36. According to the extract, Kino hesitated a moment because he, A, had to calm his anger and hatred, B, was afraid to approach the doctor, C, wondered whether he had enough money, D, wanted to kill the doctor with his bare hands. And the answer we're choosing is A. He had to calm his anger and hatred. We saw him being really angry when he thought about how the doctor's race had treated his race. And no, it's not D. Yes, he mentioned that he could easily kill the doctor, but that was not literal. It was just the way he was. Actually, it was like he actually said that it was easier for him to kill the doctor than to talk to him, and that was just because of the swelling anger he was feeling at that time, and especially so that he needed to go to him for help. Okay, so it's definitely A. Read the following extract carefully, then answer questions 39 to 46. Industrialization has created a new set of intangible health threats, or threats to health. These threats have presented themselves in socially accepted forms: the socially acquired glamour of cigarette smoking, the pleasures of alcohol, and the spurious release gained through drugs, which have resulted in many cases of heart disease, cancer, and debility. Since many developing countries are succumbing to the same habits and dependence, they lay themselves open to the same diseases. One can work by one rough rule of thumb, says Dr. Hans Luca, chief statistician of the WHO, which is World Health Organization's Global Epidemiological Surveillance and Health Situation Assessment. Once a country achieves a life expectancy at birth of 60 years, cancer rapidly moves up in the ranking of health problems and causes of death. We now need to work hard and determinedly to implement decisions on lifestyle change. These will depend on two aspects: the personal choices made and the choices that are only possible if national policies and health strategies break new ground. Nothing illustrates these aspects more succinctly than smoking. About a quarter of all cigarette smokers are killed before their time by tobacco. Most would have lived on for another 5 to 30 years, the average being an extra 10 to 15 years. If they stopped smoking before they developed cancer or heart or lung disease, they could have averted the risk of dying from tobacco. Government policies can strengthen individual choice and prevent the growth of the smoking habit. Restrictions on advertising and promoting cigarettes will reduce incentives to smoke. Raising the cost of cigarettes lowers consumption. Health education should promote a way of life free of smoking. This is particularly necessary in developing countries where there is generally minimal control on the promotion and sale of cigarettes. Developing countries can ill afford the enormous burden of tobacco-related illness on health resources, which are already overstretched. Governments may be collecting taxes and buying jobs in the growing of tobacco and the manufacture of cigarettes, but the cost of long-term medical care and inhumane suffering and premature death is expensive. Some causes of ill health can be removed by political action and financial investment, but some brought about by the way people live can be removed by people deciding to change their way of living. Question 39. According to paragraph 1, deaths from heart disease, cancer, and debility are on the increase because of A. The dangers posed by modern living, B. Traditional lifestyle in developing countries, C. Growing substance abuse in today's society, or D. Longer life expectancy in recent years. Now, this might be a good time for you to reread paragraph 1. It's at the top of the slide. Okay, from that paragraph, I am concluding that it is linking smoking, alcohol, and drug with modern industrial lifestyle and also its diseases. So we're going to go for A, the dangers posed by modern living. Question 40. The words succumbing and dependence, that's in line 5, imply that the habits of cigarette smoking, alcohol, and drug use, A, inhibit development, B, are created by the users, C, give rise to a state of numbness, D, have an overpowering effect on people. Let's read that. It says, since many developing countries are succumbing to the same habits and dependence. So we know that succumbing means to like give way to like something more powerful than yourself. You haven't got control over it. Okay, so you give way to it. And dependence also suggests being controlled by something or unable to resist. So we're talking about addiction here. And so the most suitable answer would be D, have an overpowering effect on people. Question 41. The writer feels that deaths from cigarette smoking can best be minimized if A. Governments institute new policies, B. Countries have more creative health programs, C. Individuals simplify their lifestyles in the area of health, D. Individuals make more personal choices about health programs. So we're going to go for A because we can see where the writer was emphasizing restrictions on advertising, higher cigarette costs, and also health education. Question 42. From paragraphs 1 and 2, we may deduce that cancer is on the increase in developing countries caused by excessive alcohol, drug, and cigarette use. more likely to cause the death of people under 60 years of age, or one major drawback to health programs in developing countries. Let's examine some of the evidences. Right. So we see here where it says that alcohol, drugs, for etc., have resulted in many cases of heart disease, cancer, and debility. Of course, this study was done in developed countries, but check this out. It says that since many developing countries have succumbed to the same health habits and dependence, they lay themselves open to the same diseases. So that definitely is pointing to A, that it's on the increase in developing countries. Question 43. In the extract, it is suggested that one reason people smoke is that cigarette smoking is A, fashionable in modern society, B, provides governments with needed revenue, C, provides release and relaxation for individuals, D, is promoted by numerous advertisements. And the question is all about why individuals choose to smoke. And there was one point in the passage where smoking was mentioned as or referred to as a socially acquired glamour. So we're going to go for A, is fashionable in modern society. 44. We may reasonably conclude from paragraph 4 that A, most cigarette smokers die of cancer at a young age. B, about a quarter of all cigarette smokers develop cancer. C, cigarette smoking is linked to cancer, heart, and lung diseases. D, the approximate lifespan of a cigarette smoker who has cancer is 45 years. Now let's pull up the evidence from that paragraph. Okay, go with me to this last line. If they stopped smoking before they develop cancer or heart or lung disease, they could have averted the risk of dying from tobacco. Right, so this is evidence that there is a link between cigarette smoking and some of these diseases. So we're going to go for C. Cigarette smoking is linked to cancer, heart, and lung diseases. Question 45. The word prevent as used in line 17 is closest in meaning to restrict, stabilize, enhance, or eliminate. Now, let's look at how it's used. Government policies can strengthen individual choice and prevent the growth of the smoking habit. Now, the aim here is to put things in place that will make it less attractive and thus slow the growth. So we're going to go for A, restrict. So it would read, restrict the growth of the smoking habit. Question 46. In the last paragraph, which of the following is not suggested as a way in which dangers to health can be reduced? Politicians becoming more responsible, governments implementing new policies, allocating funds adequately to policies, or D, individuals altering patterns of living. Right, so here's our paragraph, or at least the relevant part of the paragraph. Some causes of ill health can be removed by political action and financial investment, but some brought about by the way people live can be removed by people deciding to change their way of living. Now, the paragraph focuses on action here, action, policy, investment, and not on the politicians themselves becoming more personally responsible. So we are going to go politicians becoming more responsible. This next passage is a letter to the editor, and we'll read it in preparation for answering questions 47 to 54. Music too loud, I can't sleep. The editor. I just can't take it anymore. I just can't take the noise forced on me by a restaurant and bar located across the street. The noise is unbearable, and I cannot concentrate on my studies. I am writing the CXC exams in May, June this year, and I must pass all my subjects. I am attending a reputable girls' school, and I want to make good grades to get into the CAPE class. I work hard, and every report so far indicates that I am an above average student. I want to make my mother proud. She is a hard-working woman, especially since my father passed away 2 years ago. We have been struggling to make ends meet without complaint, but I must complain now because the restaurant and bar is intent on frustrating my ambitions and the sacrifices my mother is making. I appreciate the help of the government in providing opportunities for education, but this is going to be futile unless it is possible to take full advantage of them. Can you imagine having to struggle with a math problem with thunderous noise bombarding your eardrums and everything in the house jumping up and down as if the place is haunted? Can you imagine speaking to a classmate about homework and you can't hear each other? Can you imagine stuffing cotton in your ears in order to get some sleep? Can you imagine trying to explain to your teacher that you didn't do your homework or that you sleep in class because of the noise coming from the restaurant and bar? The noise coming from this place is a serious obstacle that I am unable to overcome, and I am seeking help in dealing with. Can you imagine my mother and her 16-year-old daughter going to this place in the midst of riotous drinking to ask them to turn down the music because I want to study or just to get some sleep? I understand that residents have been calling the police, but the response has been ineffective. At the moment of writing this letter, Sunday 19 at 9:30 a.m., they are blasting away after going late into the night, into last night. Under the guise of carnival, they will continue their merciless onslaught. From Carnival Friday night right up until Ash Wednesday morning, they will continue non-stop. There will be total madness. Question 47. I just can't take it anymore implies that the writer is crying, arguing, shouting, frustrated. I think she's showing a lot of frustration in the poem. So we're going to go for D, frustrated. Question 48. The sentence, I work hard and every report so far indicates that I am an above average student, suggests that the writer, A, is boastful, B, is pleading, C, is about to fail her examinations, D, wants to sustain this performance. I think the writer is very proud of her good performance and she wants to continue to do well. So let's choose D. She wants to sustain this performance. Question 49. The effect that is created by the repetition of I in the first paragraph can be best described as highlighting the writer's distress, arguments, impression, misunderstandings. I think that the repeated use of I is emphasizing her personal suffering and the emotional strain the noise is putting on her. So we're going to go right ahead and choose A, distress. Question 50. Which of the following language devices does the writer use most in paragraph 2 to explain her plight? Is it pun, contrast, allusion, or rhetorical question? Now you can see paragraph 2 at the top of this slide. You can stop the the video and look at it. Have a good look at it. Paragraph 2 repeatedly using can you imagine. So can you imagine having to struggle with a math problem with this thunderous noise? Can you imagine speaking to a classmate about homework and you can't hear her? This is to make the reader think about this situation. So we are going to go for rhetorical question D. Question 51. Which of the following words best conveys the emotion that the writer is seeking to arouse in the reader? Is it love, anger, horror, or empathy? Now, I think that the writer wants the readers to sympathize with her struggle, to feel with her. So we're going to go right in and select D, which is empathy. Question 52. Lines 11 to 12, the section beginning, thunderous noise bombarding your eardrums are an example of what? Is it irony, hyperbole, alliteration, or personification? So let's check it out. Now, it spoke about trying to do a math problem with thunderous noise bombarding your eardrums and then everything in the house jumping up and down as if the place was haunted. So first of all, what is she trying to tell us? She's trying to tell us how loud the noise is. So I think it's, even though there is some personification there, I am going to lean more towards hyperbole, exaggerating the noise. It's bombarding your eardrums and it's thunderous, how loud it is. And she's doing that for emphasis. So that's B, hyperbole. Question 53. What effect does the writer achieve when she says, can you imagine my mother and her 16-year-old daughter going to this place in the midst of riotous drinking? Is it A, criticism for their actions in going to the bar? B, admiration from the reader for the women's courage? C, scorn for the women's behavior in going to the bar? Or D, surprise that the women should hesitate to go to the bar? Now, I think that the writer is highlighting how brave the mother and daughter were to confront the bar owner. So we're going to select B, admiration for the reader, for the admiration from the reader for the women's courage. Question 54. The last sentence of the passage expresses the view that A, the noise will become worse. B, carnival will be more festive. C, the writer will become hysterical. Or is it D, the writer's mother will quarrel with the restaurant owner? Let's see what the last sentence says. It says, there will be total madness. Okay? And this to me is suggesting that the carnival celebration will make the disturbance continue and it will also intensify. So we are going to select A, the noise will become worse. The final set of questions will be based on this chart. The instruction says that you're to read it carefully, then answer the questions based on what is stated or implied. Stated means what is there, what you can see. Implied means that the answer is not directly there, but you can work it out based on the other information that you're given. So stop the video now, study the chart, and let's get into the questions. Question 55. Considering only the BMI values, which of the ranges suggests the lowest health risk? And if you look carefully at the chart, you'll see that this is A, 19 to 24. Question 56. Which BMI range is considered to have a moderate health risk when adjusted for other health conditions and risk factors? And the answer for that one is B. 25 to 26. Question 57. Mr. Adams has a BMI of 32. Considering only his BMI, Mr. Adams' health risk can be categorized as low, high, minimal, very high. And the answer is B, high. Question 58. Mrs. Adams visited her doctor, who indicated that her BMI is in the range 35 to 39. The doctor most likely suggested to Mrs. Adams that she has A. a weakened immune system, B. an enhanced body muscle mass, C. an increased risk of having a heart attack, D. a decreased risk of being diagnosed with obesity and diabetes. And the answer to that is C. She's in the range where it would cause concerns for other health issues. So it's an increased risk of having a heart attack. Question 59. Which of the following categories of persons would most likely use this information in their daily occupations? A. Teachers and educators. B. Architects and designers. C. Athletes and psychologists. Or is it D. Nutritionists and dietitians? And the answer is D. Nutritionists and dietitians. These are the professionals who regularly use BMI information in their work. Question 60. Public health campaigns might find the concept of BMI and its associated health risks important to communicate to the general population in order to A. encourage fad dieting, B. promote cosmetic surgery options, C. emphasize the importance of regular exercise, or D. educate individuals about potential health risks related to weight. And the answer is D, because the purpose of BMI information is to increase awareness of health risks. Okay? Health risks that's connected to your body weight. If you have enjoyed this video, please do us a favor and subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with anybody else who you think might benefit.